Greetings, YouTube. So Louisiana has signed a law into power. It goes into effect, I think, in January, that requires every single classroom to have a copy of the Ten Commandments on its walls, from like kindergarten through public colleges, I believe. This is just an example of Christian nationalism, plain and simple. They are attempting to indoctrinate children into religion. It is also an absolutely clear-cut example of violating the Establishment Clause. The First Amendment, the first one, you don't even have to get past the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights, says that the government is not allowed to establish a religion. And if you're putting the Ten Commandments, which is the absolute specific religious text on the walls of a school classroom, you are indoctrinating children into religion. That's what this is. If we were to suggest putting up Tibetan religious texts or the passages from, some spells being used by the Wiccan community, or we were to put up Sharia law on the wall, these people would absolutely lose their minds, and they would literally take sledgehammers to the walls to get that away from their kids. But you do the same thing with their particular religion, and then suddenly they're a-okay with indoctrination, because that's what they want. They want their children exposed to their preferred form of propaganda. They want them to continue to believe in the myth that their faith is better than all the others. The myth that their faith somehow makes them better than other people. The myth that is spread in schools right now in America, which laughingly passes for like civics and American history. I don't see how this survives. And of course, it's not meant to survive on the state level. It'll get struck down. It'll get to it'll get to the next level of court. It'll get bounced all the way up to the Supreme Court, and that's their goal. They want this to fall into the lap of the Supreme Court. But I'm telling you, a first-year law student, I know that this is a violation of the Establishment Clause. They're just hoping, if you'll pardon the pun, they're looking for a Hail Mary so that they can have their form of religious indoctrination is shrouded in law. And it disgusts me, the very idea that this is even considered. And what it baffles me is that a strong wall between church and state is the best situation for both church and state. You don't want the state in your church. I guarantee you don't. You think you do, but what version of Christianity is going to be imposed upon America? There are lots of them. There are lots of versions of the Bible, lots of versions of the narratives put forth by different religious sects, different religious traditions into Christianity. How about the Catholics? They're the biggest single block, aren't they? With a nice, neat leader at the top. You guys like authoritarianism? There you go. We'll have Catholicism. How would you stand? How would you like that, folks? How about all you evangelicals out there? How would you handle having the Catholics be in charge of your students' in religious indoctrination in school every day? No? You don't like that? Why is that? Why is it that you don't like? Why don't we step back and maybe look at the First Amendment and realize that having no religious indoctrination is the best policy? If you want to teach your kid about your particular family traditions when it comes to faith, do it at home. You have them all there. They're there at home far more than they are in school. What is it that scares you about your child spending 8 hours a day in a space where they aren't being exposed to religious indoctrination? Are you afraid that there's some data might sleep into their heads where they might actually get the thin end of the wedge and start asking questions about the world in a way that makes you uncomfortable? Tough. If someone isn't learning and having that conflicting with some of the way they have been viewing the world, they're not getting an education. If they're learning about history and it's not uncomfortable, the history lesson is an absolute failure. Data is complex. Life is not simple. I know you want it to be tough. You're wrong. So yeah, Louisiana, a state which I believe I've heard conflicting rankings. I've heard that they are 47th in the educational uh, ranking, and I've heard some that say they were 49th. I don't know which is true. Regardless, it's really damn low, and you're not worried about your kids actually getting an education. In fact, you're doing the opposite of an education. You're trying to indoctrinate them into religion, which is a violation of the Establishment Clause, and really, quite frankly, makes you look like an ass.